All right, ladies and gentlemen, source number C now on how democratic Athens was, all looking at a deep dive into Athens. And I know that I'm probably repeating myself a little too much, but I don't care because I really want you to understand this point. The reason why we're looking at these documents is to try to figure out how democratic ancient Athens really was. Okay, so we're going to be comparing later on. Next week, we're going to start learning about ancient Rome and how democratic ancient Rome was. But this week, we're looking kind of at a deep dive on ancient Athens and how democratic they really were. Because one of the reasons why we're looking at ancient Athens is they were one of the first countries or city states. They weren't really a country, but it's not all that important to create a democracy. All right. So we stole a lot of the United States were considered a democracy, and we stole a lot of our ideas from both Athens and Rome. So the question is, who was more democratic with how they did things? Was it ancient Athens or ancient Rome? In this document, what we're going to do is we're going to actually be reading a quote from a guy by the name of Pericles. All right. And just a little bit of background on the guy that wrote this. So Pericles is the source. He's the one that gave this little speech. Pericles is oftentimes considered the father of Athenian democracy because he was the one that kind of came up with the ideas of Athens democracy, was a leader behind hey, here's how we should make a democracy. And reminder, democracy is making sure that we give power to the people, right? Because back in the day, in Athens time, most places just had a king that made all of their decisions. Ancient Athens said, we don't want a king to make our decisions. We want the people to make our important decisions on whether or not we go to war, whether or not we have taxes, how much we pay in taxes, any new rules and laws. They wanted the people to be involved. All right. So Pericles was one of the major people that did that, that kind of put democracy into place in Athens. All right. And he is giving this speech right here at a time where Athens was at war with the country of, or the city state of Sparta. If you've ever seen the movie 300, the Spartans, they were fighting the Athenians, they were fighting Athens, and that's kind of what was going on. And Athens a lot of times felt like they were better than Sparta in a lot of ways. And one of the number one ways that they felt like they were smarter and better than Sparta is Athens had a democracy where they gave power to the people, and citizens got to vote on policy like taxes and whether or not they go to war and so on and so forth. On the other hand, Athens looked at Sparta, and Sparta, they had a monarchy, which means they had a king that made all of their decisions. So Athens a lot of times got into fights with Sparta because Sparta, they felt like Sparta was, I don't know, less than them, that they had a king and they were uncivilized, and Athens was civilized because they had a democracy. All right. So what happens here is Pericles is essentially trying to, the day before a big battle, is trying to pump up his troops to fight against Sparta. So what he's going to do here is he's going to say hey, here's the reason why we're fighting. We're fighting because we're a democracy and they have a monarchy and we're better than they are. And then he goes on to give this speech to try to rally people up and get people excited about going to fight Sparta. All right. So your job now is to go ahead and just read these couple paragraphs that I've got right here. That is this speech from Pericles. And then I've got some questions that come down below that I want you to answer based on that speech. All right. And then once again, at the end, is there any information in here that shows that Athens was democratic or was not democratic? I want you to give me a couple bullet points. Thanks.